Hello, everybody, and welcome to the Paranormal Guys. We're a little off schedule tonight. We've had some technical difficulties in the studio with some changes we're making, so I apologize for us running a few minutes behind. But welcome to the show. We have a good lineup tonight. I'm joined by my lovely ladies, and then we have a surprise guest that I just heard pop in the studio that, well, he's probably not sure what he's going to talk about, but we'll figure out something. So he's quick on his feet. He's an attorney. So, ladies, how are you all?
Fabulous. Great.
I call you all my angels. So,
yes, Charlie.
I told you the 80s. That's what I wanted to change. All right, well, let's put Jeff in here so we don't keep him hiding. He's in suspense, wanting to know what I wanted from him. So, Jeff.
Hi, Jeff.
Hi, Jeff.
How are you?
You can't hear us.
Can't hear us.
Well, here we go with the technical difficulties.
Well, where's your headphones?
I haven't started my sign language classes yet.
You're not muted. So, see, usually you try. Can you hear us at all, Jeff? Or you can't hear us at all, can you? All right, where's my technical support guy?
I'm like, shoot, I don't have a whiteboard and eraser.
Yeah. Well, he can't hear us, but let's see. He is on stream.
Settings.
We heard something.
Troubleshooting.
Hello.
Hey, he's
Hello. Do you have headphones?
I don't.
This is
Let me go out and come back in.
Okay.
All right. This is the fun of live studios. You never know what's going to happen. So it occasionally works out that way. So, our original scheduled guest tonight apparently was double booked and had some other obligations. So he is going to have to reschedule. So we invited Jeff in at the last minute, and we have been changing the things in the studio. So everything's kind of screwy at the moment. So ladies, are you all okay? Dina, you look distressed.
My elbow is hurting. It needs to pop.
Well, when you get your
is
ears,
it raining?
these things happen.
It really does. I have bone problems, joint problems, whatever.
Oh,
I hear you.
Hey,
We hear you.
I don't gotta break out the sign language.
hello.
Oh my goodness. I only know one symbol. So.
You know, don't you?
Oh,
No.
I know too.
Wrong finger. Jeff, welcome to the show. Thank you for coming in on such short notice. It is duly noted and appreciated.
Yeah, no problem. Well, I guess some problem, but I don't think that was your fault or mine. Just one of those ghosts in the machine things.
Yep.
Oh, exactly.
Probably.
And that was, we're actually going to ask you some things about that. That's one of the things we've been upgrading here behind the scenes, the studio and some sound settings and stuff. Earlier tonight, I couldn't hear anything or anyone, so it took my teenage son. Now he's not a teenager anymore, but my son to figure it all out.
Well, Mr. Sportscat, I mean, you've made at least one upgrade because, I mean, last time there was no her.
Yeah.
There was another him.
I've got
Right.
yeah.
Yeah, but
So-
another lovely
There's no Miss
lady.
Asylum.
Yeah.
And I got my son backstage in case we need anything, but I think we're good now, technical support wise. So I don't think he's come out and help us, especially since we're live. Would really not want to come out. So,
All right.
oh, what the hell? We're good, Kyle. Kyle, you want to be a part of the show? My first guest canceled. You want to just help out? We had some technical difficulties getting started, but I think we're good now. So
I'm glad you all got everything sorted. I ran away from my wife while we were watching a movie to come take a look. See
You better get back up there.
yeah, you don't piss off a pregnant wife.
No.
So you better bring snacks back.
Yeah, and a drink.
All right. Well, thank you, Kyle. I appreciate it.
I'm glad to hop in. If you all need me, you know where to find me. At least for
All
the
right.
All right.
Kyle.
Thank you.
Bye.
Oh, that's
Such
funny.
a sweetheart.
He makes this all run. So, Jeff, since we got you here, we were going to talk. The big news lately has been squatters.
Oh,
okay. Yeah. Everybody's squatting. But what if you have a ghost squatter you can't get rid of? Are there legal implications if you decide to say, you know what, I'm going to sell this house and get the hell out of here and not tell anybody a thing about it?
Interesting. Well, I'm not sure that the ghost squatter counts any differently than any other ghost, right? I mean, so I don't think it's the same as a human squatter. So in some ways, I would say it would be less problematic in that I do not believe that the laws of man, city, or municipality cover the ghost or give the ghost any legal protections, at least not yet. So from that perspective, I think you're good.
I think it's more of a moral thing.
Yeah, probably.
Well, I mean, yeah, I suppose. But from whose perspective am I talking about? Am I talking about from the leaving homeowner who's trying to sell it? Are we talking about landlord?
She. Well, it could be either a landlord, but she sold the house. They want to get out of it because they can't get rid of the ghost, and they don't tell the realtor or the.
Okay.
I guess the new people coming in, and they get a ghostly surprise.
Here's the thing: you'd have to prove that you knew there was a ghost in there, but before you prove that, you have to prove the precondition that there is a ghost there, and that it was there beforehand. So proving a ghost in a court of law is probably going to be pretty difficult to do. So I hate to, be a wet blanket on this thing, but I think that the complainant, whomever they are, is going to have their case dismissed. Maybe they'll be referred to the church or clergy of their choice for
the psychiatric ward.
Maybe
there might be a psychiatric ward, or maybe you suggest an exorcism. And I've been assured that almost every major religion has an exorcist ritual. It's not just we see in the movies. It's not always Catholic, not by any means. So. But let's say you can get past that you can prove there's a ghost there. Well, you also have to prove that the ghost was there before you got there. So you've got to prove that the seller, it was their ghost, and the ghost was stuck with them, that there's some sort of privity, and that they knew about it, and they had a duty to warn you. They could just go in there. I'm not afraid of no ghost. No, I didn't know there was any ghost. Ghost came with you, man. I mean, you're the one that's haunted.
You brought the ghost.
You
take it back.
So there's a bunch of problems in here. Now, let's say somehow, some way, there's a snitch in the prior homeowner's household.
Ugly divorce.
Ugly divorce. They've been a bad step parent, whatever, and
kid with a big mouth.
Yeah. Loose with no give backs. Paranormal laws are no give backs. I mean, maybe in the paranormal we need maybe one of the things we should develop is a strict code of moral laws or norms and mores for the paranormal that go beyond where the laws of man don't necessarily apply. But let's just say you could find out, you've got the mole or other proof. You find out that the person's been tick-tocking for years about, poltergeist going on in their house, and things flying around and things going bump in the night every night, and cats, elevating and levitating, and dogs speaking in tongues and things like that. And there's all sorts of proof that the prior homeowner knew about it. Well, you do have a duty to warn of known defects. Is a ghost a defect? You know what? I think that's getting to a jury.
Yeah.
I think that would depend. That would depend on the person, I guess.
Yeah, I guess it would.
Now, is it true that when you're getting in that realm of things, and maybe this, I don't know if this is more legal or more on the realtor side, but that they are required to disclose when somebody has passed away in a house?
The laws are different. Yeah, the laws are different in different states. Whether there's a code of ethics for realtors, and most states, the realtors, real estate agents have a code from their licensing body. There's a further code for anybody who belongs to the National Association of Realtors. They're the ones who could call themselves realtor. It's a trademark. So they have to adhere to whatever those codes are. I don't know. I'm not a realtor, but my guess is that none of these things cover apparitions or phantasms or whatever words you want to have on there. So
I just usually end up seeing that somewhere in like the ghost shows of, well, nobody told us that somebody died here, and they were required to tell us that somebody died here, and now we're dealing with this ghost.
Yeah, I didn't know. Along the same lines, are they supposed to tell them if they're a violent crime or something happened in the house?
I believe that there are some states and or counties or municipalities that have laws that you must disclose a violent death or a suicide in a house. Or in some cases, I believe that you have to disclose if there was a predator, like a child molester, pedophile, a registered sex offender, either in the house, or you have to disclose if you're shopping, if you're a buyer in the area. And maybe there's both in some places. Here in Maryland, I have to be honest. You called me on last minute, so I didn't have any chance to look at this. I don't know this stuff offhand.
You're doing great. We appreciate
it.
it.
What was the original question before I took myself off track?
Shay, she was.
I think it was just the like if there was any, because I said I didn't know if it went more to law or it was more something with the realtor, that if they were required to disclose if there had been a death or murder, or like Deanna said, like, if there was like the suicide or something like that happening there.
Those are good questions. I mean, it can be one or the other, or it can be both, and it can be two levels of ethics on top of that. The state licensing board, and if you remember, the National Association of Realtors. An interesting question to me, maybe not to you or the audience, is which one would matter more to the realtor? I bet their license or their membership in the group might be more than the lawsuit, especially if they have liability insurance or they're not particularly worried about ghost stories in court. That's an interesting one. Now, of course, let's say the realtors in, instead of Pennsylvania, we have Transylvania, and it's, it's known to be a hotbed of paranormal activity. I mean, then all of a sudden, I think that there'd be a requirement to disclose these known conditions. I probably wouldn't acknowledge their defect, because one person's defect might be another person's drawing power. I mean, maybe you want to be in a haunted house. Maybe you think it'd be cool. I don't know. Maybe.
See, to me, with there, it seems like it would be less of a requirement, of more like a no-brainer of like you're taking the risk living here that you're probably going to wind up somewhere where there's a ghost.
Yeah.
Well, in Transylvania, yeah.
Yeah.
Well, maybe you disclose vampires and
we're required to let you know your neighbor Jim. He's a
vampire.
He's a vampire. It runs back in his family, but he's a little quirky.
Yeah.
We cook, but
I'm down with vampires. I'm like Guillermo from What They Do in the Shadows. I want to be a vampire, but ghosts, no, that's a line that won't cross.
That's funny. Yeah. Well, you did mention something that actually kind of made me wonder. What if there are an influencer in the house, or let's say somebody that is like me that hosts a show, and then they can go back and go, well, look, Sportcat or Glenn, he was doing this, and look at his show on June 15th. He had this, and this. Does that change anything with like that? Because that, I guess, sure, it's not circumstantial, it's time stamped.
Well, if you're telling me that you are the mole, you're ratting on Glenn, and and there's video of Glenn with like ghosts around him, and
Well, there is
flying around.
there certainly is.
Now, that guy Kyle we saw hasn't been alive in 700 years. So,
Yeah, true.
I think then it would come more into details, I guess, of like, okay, is Glenn on his podcast just talking about ghosts, or is Glenn on his podcast with a freaking Ouija board in front of him trying to summon ghosts?
There you go.
well, also, I mean, we are in the era of AI and images being altered and voices being altered, and I mean, you'd have to. It's more than just a date stamp. Listen. All jokes aside, if you're going to have to prove apparitions and ghosting, the burden of proof is on you. So you've got to prove. So if Glenn goes, that's not someone fake that. I mean, that,
Yeah.
look at me. I'm 55 years old. I can't make that stuff up. I don't know. I can
I don't know what's going on.
Barely know how to make the studio run. Well, this gives me a good time, Jeff, and I'm going to keep you here. But we do have a known ghost hunter who is going to be on this show later. He's agreed to come in a little earlier. He's from Taps in Oregon. Jason Hassler. Hello, Jason.
Hi, Jason.
How's it going?
Thanks
Good.
for coming in early with this. And you know what? Shut up, Brenda. She's saying I'm older than that. Jason, we had the first guest cancel, and Jeff is one of our friends of the show. I call him my paranormal attorney, and so we always ask him the strange questions about Bigfoot and all that stuff. And so the question I posed to him tonight was, let's say, for instance, I live here, the house is haunted, I've had shows on TV or TikTok or something about it. I sell the house. Do I have a duty to tell someone that the house is haunted? And if I don't, and they end up with a poltergeist, what can they do about it? What do you think? What's your opinion? Jason beat Jeff, by the way. I'm sorry. I'm off tonight.
I think it probably varies state to state, to be honest. I mean, there's not really a whole lot you can do if the law isn't on your side, I suppose.
Well, it's like Jeff was saying, it's the burden to prove. How do we prove a ghost exists?
Yeah.
Well,
you can't. We've tried.
This leads me into something great as being with it having to deal with law. Jeff, and this is coming out of West Virginia, where I'm from. Are you aware of the story of the Greenbrier ghost?
I have heard of the Greenbrier ghost, and I've heard a whole lot of stuff going on with Greenbrier lately, not necessarily paranormal, but I guess refresh all of our memories.
Well, so the Greenbrier ghost is supposedly out there. The only time in U.S. history when I'm trying to think of the right way to describe it. When like a ghost was used as a witness, would that be the right way to phrase it?
It might be. Keep going. Let's see.
Okay, so I knew I had it in my book here. I was trying to find a
witness in
a trial. She was murdered.
Oh.
And she supposedly pointed out who murdered.
Interesting.
Well, if it's in court,
I believe it was. I believe it was her husband. So it says when testimony from a ghost. When Shu's trial began in June 1897, numerous members of the community testified against him. Of course, and I've got to figure out it's this person named Hester. Of course, Hester's testimony was highlighted on the trial. She testified as both the mother of the victim and as the first person to notice the unusual circumstances of Zona's death. And Zona was the one who was murdered. Preston wanted her to come across as sane and reliable, so he did not mention the spirit encounter, which apparently Zona had come to her mother telling her that she was killed. Mm-hmm. Which would make Hester look irrational and was also inadmissible as evidence. Zona's testimony obviously could not be cross-examined by the defense and therefore was hearsay under law, but unfortunately for Shu, his attorney did ask Hester about her ghostly visit. Certainly he was trying to destroy her credibility with the jury, characterizing her visions as the over-imagination of a grieving mother. He was tenacious in trying to get her to admit that she was mistaken about what she'd seen, but Hester jealously stuck to her story. When Shu's attorney realized that she was not going to budge from her story, he dismissed her. By then, the damage was done because the defense, not the prosecution, had brought up Zona's otherworldly testimony. The judge had a difficult time ordering the jury to ignore it. Clearly, most of the townspeople believed that Hester really had been visited by her daughter's ghost. Shu testified in his own defense, but the jury quickly found him guilty. 10 of the jury members voted for Shu to be hanged, but because they could not reach a unanimous decision, he was sentenced to life in prison. Shu didn't carry out his sentence for long. He died in March 1900 at the West Virginia State Penitentiary in Moundsville, which is haunted. Until her death in 1916, Hester told her tale to anyone who would listen. It seems that after visiting her mother to offer details of her murder, Zona was finally able to rest in peace. Although her ghost was never seen again, she did leave a historical mark on Greenbrier County, where a roadside marker still commemorates the case today. It reads, interred in nearby cemetery is Zona Hester Shu. Her death in 1897 was presumed natural until her spirit appeared to her mother to describe how she was killed by her husband, Edward. Autopsy on the exhumed body verified the apparition's account. Edward, found guilty of murder, was sentenced to the state prison. Only known case in which testimony from ghosts helped convict a murderer.
Oh, cool.
Okay.
That's interesting.
That is.
With today's technology, I don't know that would stick, but that's, we had a guest on here, I don't know, about 3 or 4 weeks ago. He is writing a book about a young lady's death, and she was murdered. He has never met her. He lives on the East Coast. He lives in Philadelphia. Her murder was on the West Coast. He was traveling, and he saw the news flash, and he was like, wow, I'm going to look into that when I get home. And he kind of did a little research. He started having dreams about this lady. And in the dreams, she became more and more close to him, trying to explain who she was. She told him how she was murdered. So he looked it up, and none of that was actual what had happened in the case. And he's like, okay, I'm going crazy. He even went to see a psychiatrist. He started writing a book about it, thinking this will help him with his trauma. And he was going into detail. He contacted the family, and they told him they didn't want to talk to him. They didn't want any contact with him, and that they did not want him to publish that story. And so I'm sure there's probably some legal things about that. So he had to, obviously, it's a work of fiction and things like that now, but
he's still in communication with her, though.
Yeah, he's still in communication with the family. With the
ghost.
Oh, with the ghost, yeah, or that comes to him in his dreams. But in the family,
she comes to him all the time now, is what he said.
Oh, okay.
Just in his dreams.
Not just in there. Actually, you're right. You're correct. But yeah. So
She's like, help me, dude. You're the only one that's going to put this out here.
Yeah.
and there's no connection. There's not a religious connection between the two. There's obviously no relationship wise, distance wise, age wise. She's much younger than he is. And it really traumatized him to the point he was going to a psychiatrist until they were finally they were like, well, just start journaling, start writing it out. And when he did, that's when all of it started free flowing. So he was worried about the implications with the family, with the law.
That reminds me of a weird mix of Halle Berry's movie Gothica and The Grudge.
Yeah. She was, they become really close.
Well, yeah, I'd imagine.
Yeah, it's really, she's like with him all the time. It's odd. But it's interesting.
Yeah, it's very interesting.
Yeah.
Yeah. Have you ever heard anything like that, Jeff?
Have I ever heard anything like that?
Yeah, it's not from my show, obviously.
It sounds like a movie. It's maybe a soulmate or whatever, that kind of thing. Or maybe they are related. Maybe he should do an Ancestry.com or 23andMe, and maybe they're more related than you think. I mean, there's that mitochondrial leaf, from 2 million years ago. So somewhere along the line, maybe both on North America. I don't know. No, I have not, but we have a ghost hunter here, so I'm really more interested in his.
Yeah, I was getting to him. I know he's itching. He's probably got more stories than I got questions.
Yeah, Jason, why don't you tell us about yourself?
Well, I'm like you said, I'm the director for Big River Paranormal in Oregon, in Southwest Washington. We also have a team in Boise, and we're the Taps family team for Idaho, Oregon, and Southwest Washington. So cool. I don't know if you know what that means, but that means that if the TV show Ghost Hunters gets a case in our area, they send it to me to see if we can help the client.
Nice.
That's pretty freaking cool.
I love that show.
Loved it. So in your experiences so far, what have you seen that has given you the most, there's something here, sensation or story? Or I realize reality TV is a lot different, but
scare.
Yeah, I mean, if they really put on TV what Paranormal Investigation is, nobody would watch, because it's just a bunch of people sitting around in a dark room and claiming their body functions. So really what it is. Yeah. So for me, it was I grew up in a haunted house, and so as a child, I had some experiences which I really just thought were my imagination as a child. But growing up, I realized that it was probably a lot more than that.
Mm-hmm.
Did you grow up in Washington, or?
Yes, in Vancouver, Washington. Yeah.
Mm.
Very cool. Slightly frightening as a child, but cool.
Yeah, that's what I was going to ask. As a child, how did you feel with this?
Honestly, it was scary, but I just thought, I'm a kid. It's my imagination, which is what your parents tell you. Go back to sleep. It's a bad dream.
Yeah.
When really, it probably wasn't, especially when you have conversations with your brother and he has the same, he had the same experiences and that kind of stuff as a child as well. So
I have to ask, I would like you to stop using the word experiences and tell us what these experiences
were.
I mean, the house that we lived in, it was over 100 years old. I don't remember a whole lot of history on it. I know that it wasn't at the location it was originally built, but we had several different family members. It was owned by a family member, so we had several different people that lived in the household throughout the years from our family, and they all had experiences. I know, I believe my uncle went into a closet to change the light bulb in the closet, and the door was shut, and he couldn't get out for a while. I know that.
Oh, no.
Happened. Yeah, that's like everybody's nightmare when they go in the closet to change the light bulb, I guess.
Yeah. Be awful.
Especially if you find out you're not alone in the closet.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, I better be. I'm going to just start flailing.
Like start touching me or something.
Smile with sharp teeth.
That's why I don't like the dark.
Mm-hmm. So I mean, I would see things like shadows and stuff in that closet and whatever at night when I was trying to sleep, and I just, of course, thought, I'm a kid. That's what we're supposed to see. It's supposed to be our imagination, or we all have monsters under a bed as children. But when you think about it, maybe children can see things that adults can't because they don't know they're not supposed to.
Yeah.
I'm sorry. I have a blanket that protects me from monsters. I don't know about you guys.
Yes. As long as my
a-
feet are covered up in my head.
Yep.
You gotta keep
The
your feet
leg
covered up.
hanging off the.
Yeah.
Yeah, my leg
That's
is
why
the sacrifice that I'm offering.
I mean, if it works, it works.
So
Yeah.
far.
I'm still here.
Yeah.
I don't have to hop too
Mostly
far.
mentally here.
I don't have to hop too far. I'm okay.
So in some of the experiences I'll switch to the word investigations. Have you had EVPs are fairly common according to the TV shows, and being touched and things like that. And I mean, there's some people on TV I think that they get, I don't want to use the word excited, but excitable, and seem to be afraid of everything that
Zach
to be there for.
Yeah, I mean, that guy's listed online as an entertainer, not a professional investigator. So, I mean, like, he's got his place. I mean, it's for like, I'm not a fan, but like some people enjoy that kind of stuff. So, he's got a place. He makes my job as an investigator a lot harder, because when we show up to, say, if we have a residential and we walk in and they're watching Ghost Adventures on TV, we know the problem is they watch too much Ghost Adventures. They don't necessarily have a ghost in their home.
Yeah.
I mean, it's almost always, if they're watching Ghost Adventures, when you walk in, you go, well, this is going to be an easy one.
They're just haunted by Zach Baggins.
Yeah. That's true.
Well, but there are some also physical reasons, and that you can go into this, that people can experience things, EMF, radiation. It's kind of the same thing, but that can make people have feelings and sensations. So you probably go in and check the actual physical things as well, don't you?
Yeah, that's one of the first things we do. In fact, we had a case that this woman, she thought like she was hallucinating so bad. She's like, there's people in my room. She literally thought her ceiling was bleeding, that kind of stuff. And if you're really sensitive to EMF, then things like that can really happen to you. So we went into her room, and right by her pillow, she was up against the wall, and it pegged, like our meter was pegged out. So what it was is, on the other side of that wall, they had like this water softener thing in the garage, and it was just letting off so much EMF, and that was just going into her head all night long.
Oh man.
Oh, gosh.
And so apparently she's very sensitive to it. So we just kind of suggested she move the bed to the other side of the wall, or put something up that in between that would help more. And I don't know if she ended up doing that, but I know they ended up selling the house shortly after that, because I just don't think she believed that that's what was going on.
How high does
the original question?
Yeah, exactly. It does get back to the original question. What do you have to tell them? Don't put your bed there.
Right.
Yeah.
How high does is there a range to the EMF that can affect people?
It depends on how sensitive you are to it. Okay. Some people, like, we have teammates that, like, if it's higher than normal, like at all, they can get sick to their stomach, dizzy, headaches. A lot of times it makes people feel like they're being watched.
Oh, really? Okay.
Yeah.
And as a paramedic, going in and being able to help somebody instantly and show them this is what's wrong makes me feel good. I bet that made you feel good to go in and be able to quickly say, it's not only that, you're saving you from a brain tumor or something.
Right.
Yeah. I mean, it's pretty much what we expected, based off, when you do this for so long and you get emails and you're like, well, I bet this is what it is. We'll have to go and check. And that's the first thing you do. And I mean, a lot of times people want their houses to be haunted, and no matter what you tell them, they are not going to be like, well, I guess you're right.
It could be something else.
Yeah.
I found my defense witness.
Yes.
I mean, people believe what they want, and we try to do the best education we can, but at the end of the day, it's up to them.
Yeah.
That was going to be like my next question of, like, how hard is it to try to convince them that, like, no, it's legit not a ghost. It's just
It's usually, I would say about 98% of the time we can come up with a logical explanation for what the person is experiencing. And then, sometimes we've come up with stuff we cannot explain, and that's the fun part.
Mm-hmm.
In that 2%, are you able to discern a malevolent force versus a neutral, or just someone's great grandfather wants to see their great grandchild or something? I have never ran into anything that I thought was like, I'm non-religious, so I don't believe in demons. So that's a religious thing for people. And I had a lady call me one day and she said she had a demon in her apartment, and I was like, what did you do?
Yeah. Did you release it?
Yeah. Why is there?
Your ex-husband doesn't count.
Yeah. Honestly, I just kind of feel like spirits were people. So if you were a jerk in life, you're probably going to be so in the afterlife. So if you're, maybe it's just the angry person. It's not, the devil is not out to get you, or maybe it is, but I haven't come across that, thankfully.
I don't think demons were ever human.
I couldn't tell you. I don't believe in demons at all. So,
right.
That's just from my, it's a religious thing for me. So being that I don't have a religious view on that, I just think that, people are bad, in life, you're bad in death.
There are exactly bad spirited ghosts and good spirited ghosts. They're just people.
Yeah.
But whatever they are you able to tell the difference through measurements, or is it just based on observation? And if so, how much observation does it take to be able to, tell that in the real world? Obviously, in the movies, it's pretty easy. The ghost says, "Get out," But
the other thing we have to go off of is the evidence we find. So, honestly, if we had an EVP where a ghost is being unkind, then we could probably say he doesn't want us around, or try to figure out why he's being unkind. It kind of depends on what you're investigating too. So, if you're investigating someone's home and it's grandpa that's hanging out, but he wasn't that nice of a guy, it's going to be harder to tell that he's not nice, as opposed to, hey, we're investigating this prison and everybody here probably is a little not nice.
Oh my anger.
Yeah.
So just kind of, you can't really, going into it. A lot of people, and I think it's based off religious ideas a lot, think that anything that isn't, they believe the good people go to heaven and bad people go to hell. And of course, they're afraid of anything that's hanging out here. They don't know what it is. They don't know what it means. So they automatically go to, it's got to be bad.
Yeah.
So, and it just usually isn't.
Yeah.
What would you say is like the creepiest experience you had?
Well, recently, we don't run into a whole lot of creepy stuff, but we were at, my daughter and I were investigating. We did a public investigation for a place called the Starry Night Inn in Seaside, Oregon. It's a really cool little place. And, everybody was on the main floor, and we were just kind of taking a break and talking. And my daughter, we were staying up in room 4, and my daughter had said early in the evening that, for the spirits, go ahead and mess with the people in room 4. But for me, I'm like, speak for yourself. I still have to sleep in there at some point tonight, so I didn't really appreciate that. But so she goes up to use the restroom while we're all down there. She's the only one upstairs, and I'm like, where is Mariah? Like, pretty soon my phone's going off, and she's like, Dad, I need you to come upstairs and let me out of the bathroom. Well, the bathroom door, it was one that slides this way, instead of closing like a normal door. And she got in there and closed the door and was going to the bathroom, and somehow a chair got pushed behind the door, so she couldn't open it.
Oh.
So, we were all like, that's really cool. But all the people that paid to go on the investigation, they were all like, I think we'll go to bed now. And I'm like, then why are you here?
Yeah.
This is exactly what we're hoping to see.
Yeah.
Yeah.
She asked for it.
She did ask for it.
Yeah. Why did they all go to bed if they were wanting to investigate?
Yeah, they were just kind of like, oh, yeah, it scared them. And I'm like, we're like, wow, that's really cool. We're all excited about it. This is exactly what we're hoping for. And
right.
They're like, yeah, I'm a dip on that. No.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Was your daughter freaked out about it?
No, she thought it was great.
Yeah. How old is she?
She just turned 25.
Oh, awesome. My daughter just turned 25 too.
That was
she's
like
my
me
assistant director.
when we went to Weston. Like I can be the biggest chicken about stuff, but I was just like, come on, mess with me, let me see something crazy.
I try to be more laid back than that and just kind of like let things come as they go. Because like
that's what I would be too.
Yeah, I'm not trying to invite somebody home with me either. So
No.
I kind of feel like if you open that door,
they're gonna be like, all right.
Yeah, we're friends now, so
Yeah.
hang out. Yeah.
You invited me. Here I come.
Yeah, how do you tell them not to follow you or come with you? Is there a...
Yeah.
I mean, for my team, we have people from all different religious backgrounds and beliefs. So I just kind of let everybody do their own thing. For me, it's just, I'm just respectful. So we don't go and provoke. We don't swear at the spirits. We talk to them just like I'm talking to you face to face, like I would if we were in person. So, for me, I kind of feel like if you don't mess with them, they won't mess with you.
Yeah.
So
I mean,
we prefer not to go into locations and piss off people's spirits and then be like, bye, have a good time.
Yeah. What if they?
Oh no! You come back here.
What if they take a liking to you?
I suppose it's possible.
Go ahead.
Like what are you measuring for? Are you measuring for like radiation, electricity, sonic, different spectra of different types of energy? I mean, and what kind of tools are you using? Like what is a ghost hunter like? How do you validate that there's a ghost, versus anything else? I would never ever say this piece of evidence is, it might be proof for me, but from a scientific standpoint, I think it's really hard to prove unless the ghost is walking around shaking hands with people going, hi, I'm a ghost, and you could put your hands through them or something. I don't know how you would prove that, but we do things so like we're not trying to prove there's a ghost. We're more trying to find a logical explanation for what the people are experiencing. So we want to disprove usually what they believe is a ghost. Yeah. So but when you can't disprove it,
mm-hmm.
and forget that I'm a lawyer. Take off my lawyer hat. I don't care. I'm not talking about. I'm not trying to you prove it in a court of law. To your satisfaction, when somebody calls you in to help a client and it fits within that 2% that can't be eliminated, like what are you looking for? What's the threshold? You say this is probably something paranormal. You don't have to use the word ghost, but this we cannot explain what this is. I don't know what it is, but we know what it isn't.
Well, for me personally, it has to be some sort of either a pattern, like, if we got a video, like if they said, hey, every day at 2 p.m. we see the lady in the white dress on the top of the stairs, and we were able to film that, then like in every day, like that kind of stuff. Okay, then maybe there's something, a residual something. Or, for me, the ones I like the most where we can't really, it's hard to argue, is when you get an EVP that has an intelligent response.
Yeah.
So, I mean, we were at a place called the Walker Ames House in Washington, in Port Gamble. And it's this really old house, really cool. It's supposed to be one of the most haunted houses in Washington. And we investigate there about once a year. And the first thing we like to do is, because you never know when they're going to start talking, is we start a recorder the moment we walk in. Mm-hmm. So we got a recorder going, and we're setting everything up. And you hear two of our investigators talking about where they're going to set some equipment up. But then you hear a voice that in the background that says they're listening. So they knew exactly what was going on because that place is investigated so often. They know, okay, they got the recorders going. They're listening to us. So we get a lot of really, intelligent responses from locations like that. And that's when you go, okay, that makes sense. Like, of course, now they know what this equipment is. And I mean, that place gets investigated about at least once a month usually. So the ghosts probably get really annoyed with that, I imagine. But we try to go in.
SRBs are back.
It's like, again, like we're just trying to get some rest here. Rest in peace is not what we're doing.
These
here.
are my vacation days. Tell them to leave. Jeez.
Yeah. So we try to go in and like, we don't do like for an EVP session for us. I mean, we will sometimes go in, especially if it's a location that hasn't been investigated before, and ask the normal, what is your name? How did you die? All the same questions that you see all the other investigators ask. But for the most part, we just sit around and have normal conversation about, our day or whatever. Because like if I was at your house and I was sitting in your living room, we were all talking, you would join in, right? So we just kind of assume they will too. And a lot of times that's how we get some of our best evidence.
That's cool.
Yeah, that's really cool.
What's the oldest ghost you ever encountered? Like, you might be talking to them every day, but the ghost is from, I don't know, 1600 BC, and they're speaking, you know, I don't know, Old Hebrew or you know, Akkadian or something, and you're talking to them about, like, I had, you know, an Italian sub from Subway, and you know, in their language that means war. I don't know.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't know. I mean, that is something we a friend of mine, William Becker, he's a local psychic in Oregon City. He took me to this place called the Ermitinger House, which is this old historical place in Oregon City, really cool location where they believe, they can't prove, but they believe that the naming of the city of Portland, the coin toss, I don't know if you guys know about the coin toss, but one of it was from Boston, one was from Portland, Maine, and they flipped the coin to name Portland, Oregon. It was going to be Boston or Portland. And they believe that coin flip took place in the Ermitinger House. So I was there, and basically afterwards, William pulled me aside and said, you know, when you're investigating, you have to take into account who you are investigating, who are the spirits that you believe are in this house that you're talking to. Because he said, if you walk into this location, like the Ermitinger House, and I walked in there wearing a hat like I am now, that's disrespectful to those people back then. Why would they communicate with you?
Oh, yeah.
And if I if I walked in there and I'm like using their first names, well, that would be disrespectful.
Yeah.
So he says you have to take into account, and he's very right about who the spirits you may be encountering is, and think about what their cultural ideas were and that kind of stuff, and that can help you on investigating. Because if you go in there and you're respectful, you're not wearing the hat, you use their last name, that kind of thing, then you're just, you know, they're more likely to talk to you if you're not being offensive. Because you don't think about things like, you know, like today you go to your friend's house, you walk in with a hat, nobody thinks anything, but back in the day that was offensive.
Yeah.
I never
I
thought
hate to
about
monopolize someone else's show, but it just seems to me that you need to have like a first contact protocol, almost like if you're meeting, you know, like what NASA would need to have if you're meeting extraterrestrials, to establish contact, to figure out where they are, who they are, where they're from, so that you could like Google what the customs are.
Yeah. I mean, we do, you know, we try to take that into account. We do history, find about as much history of the locations we can. And sometimes there's decent information available, and sometimes there's just not. So, yeah, so we try to take that into account of who the people are, the spirits that might be there, and work from that way. And that's another thing we can do as far as evidence. If we get a EVP that says a name, you know, it's, you know, when we ask what your name is, and they're like, my name is James or whatever, and then we look in the history, and James used to own that house, that's something you can't really look past.
True.
That is very true. Yeah, that was something. And no, Jeff, you're not hijacking. You're a guest, and I welcome you to chime in anytime. That was something that I consider, because Dean and I went on a ghost hunt through the streets of Knoxville, you know, where they show you the old historic parts, and you know, then they're like, okay, we're wanting the spirit to turn on this light, and we want them to. And I'm like,
yeah, but that's how would the mayor pretend he's Kane again, and they can
no.
He could kick our ass. I'll agree with that. But
yeah, he could.
My question to the guy was, how do they know what a flashlight is? I mean, obviously, if you've done this tour long enough, the guy might have figured it out. But to them, that's magic. I mean, you know, if you're talking about somebody that's, you know, we'll say Ben Franklin's era, you know, you hold up a flashlight and waving it around, that's magic.
What is this contraption?
Yeah. So how do you turn this on? How do they know that? Yeah, and that the guy never really could answer that question for me, and that's what got me to thinking. And I'm with you, Jason, because I believe that, let's just say there is something walking around. They may not understand the same things that we do. This technology is.
We called it a torch.
Yeah, we called it a torch. But and actually, Dina and I were the only two to get really anything out of the whole tour. People were coming to us and leaving the tour guide, and I'm like, I had Bigfoot.
Yeah, and then he kind of
bump in the night.
made everybody disperse. But we did get let's see, he called whoever we were in contact with, he said my name, and we
had like 2 good recordings. I remember that.
Yeah, and then it was like standing behind me, I could feel like the cold on my back, and I could feel like an overwhelming sadness. It kind of made me cry because we were at a place where they used was used for the morgue for the city, and the story was that they used to sell bodies out of there to use for the university to practice on, experiment on and practice on. But there was also a very bad wreck there with some firefighters back in the day, and so we don't know who it was, but it was really interesting.
And I would think too, in mentioning the, taking into consideration the time frame that they're from and everything. Mm-hmm. If you're walking in there and you're part of this big guest or this big tour that, you're intruding into somebody's home and you're basically wanting to work them like a show puppet of like, oh, well, we're just waiting for them to turn the light on. They're just going to get peeved and be like, quit turning on the dang light in my house. I liked it the way it was.
Yeah, well, we were outdoors, but outside of the building, but.
Well, I just mean like in general.
General, yeah, you're right.
Yeah, when you get Jason, when somebody gets we'll call it a case to you, what's your first thing that you want to do to look up? Do you look to the property? Do you look the people up? Or what's the first step in that?
Well, we don't do a whole lot of background with the people. We will interview the people and we'll ask them a bunch of questions they may not feel comfortable answering. And like, are you seeking medical attention for anything? What kind of medications, therapy, that kind of stuff? Do you use illegal drugs? And we can help. The more honest they are, the better we can help. But I mean, none of us are professional when it comes to medical and that kind of stuff. But it's, so we'll start with that. With the interview, we find out basically, all their personal stuff they're willing to share. And then I hand it off to the historian, and she'll look for any just deaths in the house and just names and that kind of stuff of people that own the house, just so we have some sort of base to start looking at, who might be these spirits and that kind of stuff.
Mm-hmm.
That's good because, I mean, you don't know what, a house that's, well, there's some hundreds of years old, what all could be residual. What is your thoughts on the residual ghosts? Because like people at like famous sites like Gettysburg say they frequently see things.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I mean, I haven't come across that personally myself. It's just, it's a theory that people believe in. And I fully think that, the energy is there and it's a distinct possibility that that's something that happens, but it's not something I've personally run into myself.
Okay. No, that's good. So what have you, let me ask you this, what firm belief have you ever got, not belief, proof that you have besides for their listening? That's to me, and your daughter getting locked in a room. That's, those are two things right there. But
we have a ton of different EVPs and stuff. But for me, when we had we've been into, and my brother and I have been into investigating since we were, like later teens. And we had a dog that passed away when we were, probably right about 18 years old. And he was out in a cemetery in the middle of the night, just, doing, before we had any clue as to how to properly do this kind of thing. He was just out there taking pictures at the cemetery in the middle of the night, really. And when he was going back looking through the pictures, he found a picture of our dog that had passed away. It was, so yeah, for me, like he sends this to me and it's like, for me, it's, it's a picture of him. He's like a green color, kind of like an energy, but that was our dog. There was no denying, like, he took this picture here. I can't explain. So for me, it was like, okay, there has to be an afterlife if I'm seeing this picture of my dog that he took, because I can't come up with a different explanation for that.
Oh, wow. Cool. We had a lady come in. Her name was Nikki. She was on quite a few of our shows. She could take a picture. You could take a picture of your surroundings, and she would want you to think of, your favorite pet or Uncle Bob or whatever. Send her those pictures and then send her your favorite photo of Uncle Bob. And she could literally pull the image out. She did use a lot because I critiqued her for a long time because it's like, all right, I know you're using Adobe. I know what you're doing. But she would use that, but then she would take it away and you'd have the original picture and you couldn't unsee what you saw. And I don't know if that was a psychological thing or if it was a real thing. She did it to every one of my hosts and myself.
I did ask her if she superimposed it over the other picture, and she said, yeah.
She does to show you, but then when you take it away, a lot of times you can still see it. There was a couple like Ross's dog. I mean, that was plain as day. My grandfather, that was playing, and I'm like, okay, is this just me wanting to see that? Yeah. So she's like, it's upside down on top of the couch and staring at you, and I'm like, how do you see this? So that was to her was proof. But yeah, she did use tools like that with Photoshop and stuff, but it had to be some kind of gift to be able to pick the minutia out. And there is a medical, I forget what it's called, disease where people can see a face in anything.
Pareidolia.
There you go.
That's the word, yeah.
I knew somebody was smarter than me. Here's a shocker. So,
that's like half the pictures we get sent from people. It's like, they'll send me a picture of their mirror and they're like, look, and I'm like, yes, you need Windex, like, you need mirror.
Clean it.
Exactly. There's nobody in the mirror looking back at you. It's you.
No.
Yeah.
How long have you been doing this, Jason?
I have been with Big River it will be 7 years in August, but since but I've been interested in doing I didn't really know what I was doing. I was doing this stupid thing like kids do, let's go to the cemetery in the middle of the night, and record stuff. And, we didn't really have any clue what we were doing, but, a long time. It's something I've done most of my life.
Did it, well, have you ever really been shook or scared on any of these things?
Not really. No, it's just, I don't know. I've been aware, but honestly, the scariest things I've run into are usually clients, really.
Well, looking for Bigfoot, I gotta agree with you. That's some mysterious people in the woods you run into. So yeah.
We had a gentleman who told us he had demons in his house, and so we went down there to help him. And the truth was that it didn't take us very long to figure out that this person had a substance abuse problem, but that doesn't mean he doesn't have something going on as well. Because when you I kind of in the belief that if you are on mind altering drugs, you can't really protect yourself from that kind of stuff. So
that's true.
Maybe it's a wide open door to these, to spirits that would maybe want to do him harm. So we went down there and checking out, but we're down there and he kept telling us that he wanted us to go into his shed. Well, first he told us he had a wife and 2 dogs. We get there and it's just him. So that was kind of we're like, wait a minute. But then he wanted us to go. He's like, the demon wants us to go in the shed. The demon wants us to go. And finally I was like, Tom, we're not going in your shed. I don't know what you got back there, but we're not going to find. We ended up having to pack up and just leave because he was just so weird. And
gosh,
one of his stories was, it pulls him out of bed when he lays in bed. So I said, well, let's set up a camera and put you in bed and let's see what happens, knowing that nothing is going to pull him out of bed, just to see if he would fake it. And he did. And of course he did, it just, but at that point,
I was gonna say, was it even a good fake?
Did he roll out of bed, or
he just jerked his leg really quick and flung himself, and it was just kind of like, come on, dude, we can see you, nice try. But I asked him, at that point you just kind of asked, we asked him, do you have issues with alcohol or narcotics? And he admitted that he had in the past, and I really just kind of told him, hey, when was the last time you went to a meeting? And he's like, it's been a while. I said, well, let's try that. And hopefully, who knows what he did, but it was kind of one of those situations that we just had to get out of there because it wasn't safe.
Yeah.
I'm not winding up in somebody's shed.
Yeah.
Right.
Exactly.
I was like, we're not going in your shed, sir. No.
I got to ask you, you said client. Is this a paying gig?
No, we do not charge for investigations.
Okay, so I mean,
That's
you know,
good.
the clients can only cause you so much harm, right?
You would think,
Well,
yeah.
Well,
Yeah.
depends on how.
Well,
Well, depends on
just
what.
well, just from having this show, there's a girl she's actually in West Virginia. I have sent her multiple people to talk to, multiple psychics or whatever. And finally I told her, I said, you need to stop contacting me. Everybody's told you the same thing. And she didn't. Like, as a paramedic, I went down the road like you did about your medication, your medical history. Do you need help? Because you might need help. And I finally had to tell her, don't stop. I'm going to block you. I'm done with this. I've sent people that you've asked that they've all told you the same thing. And so some people, like you said, they don't want to take no for an answer.
Yeah, they don't want to take the logical explanation.
So then you had to put her on the show. Is that what you're telling us?
He's pointing at Shay.
I'm medicated now, though.
We find like locations that want to like say there's a bar that claims to be haunted.
Yeah.
They get really upset when we're like, no, that's not what we found. Like, because their marketing is like, come to this haunted bar.
That's just the homeless man sleeping in the rafters, guys.
we had a case in Aberdeen, Washington, which they will tell you is where Kurt Cobain is from. Every person you meet there, and so the claim that there was a woman at night when they were cleaning up, when everybody was gone, they're cleaning everything up. They would hear a woman giggling in the bathroom. So we're there, they're cleaning up, and sure enough, we hear what sounds like somebody giggling in the woman's room. So Sarah and I, a teammate and I, we go in there and we stand in there for a few minutes to see if we can. And what it was one of those automatic air fresheners, and it squeaked when it, they were, because they were like, yeah, that was it. So then when we went in there and we found out that's what it was, then oh no, that wasn't it. But it's like, guys,
oh my goodness.
I'm not saying your place wasn't haunted. That's just not a ghost. That's just
air freshener.
It's just by Febreze.
Yeah,
that's cool.
And then you need to refill it. It's empty.
That's funny.
I'm gonna hit a quick button here. It's just gonna pop us out of the screen for just a minute. It's for my editing purposes so that they can put a commercial in here. I don't know why. Let me figure out which button to hit.
Let's get ready to rumble!
I'm Miranda Maverick, and when I'm in fight camp, I never listen to the Sportcat podcast.
Okay, thank you for allowing me that. And we're back to the Paranormal Guys. Day 2, round 2. We have Jeff Lippman, attorney at law extraordinaire, Jason Hassler, who is with TAPS out on the West Coast. And we've been talking about lots of ghost experiences. And so, Jason, what I'm getting from, or my feeling I'm getting from you is you're not a big believer in the ghost world. I mean, you feel that most people feel like there is something and there really isn't. You're more on the scientific side.
I mean, I'm a believer with the experience that I've had, but like for the most part, most things have a logical explanation. So, like you're not going to get possessed by a demon on every show you have if you're,
Dang it.
Mm-hmm.
Unfortunately, we don't get to have that kind of fun for like every investigation, but there's always there's usually a logical explanation, and maybe it's something that we haven't found yet, but like I have most residentials I go into knowing that we're not going to get any kind of evidence, that it's mostly, I mean, people's homes are hard to investigate. There's so many different things that, cause you don't know, first of all, you don't know what they've got in their house, and then they have pets and different people and, sounds. So you have to really make yourself at home in these people's houses to try to figure out what's going on. So, and it all depends on what they'll tell you.
Jason, have you gone to your home that you grew up in and done an investigation to see what was in your bedroom?
The home is no longer there. Unfortunately, I would absolutely love to do so. The property is there, but like everywhere else, it's being turned into a subdivision. So maybe when there's a house there and, a little while, I'll go, hang out over there and say,
listen, I don't mean to tell you your business. You certainly know better than I do, but, are the apparitions limited to the house itself, or are they tied to the land? I mean, they could still
you don't know.
be
Yeah. Yeah, I have no idea what it was. So, I mean, they totally could still be there. But, we have this rule about knocking on people's doors and asking to investigate their homes. Now, we can go to commercial locations and be like, hey, we've heard stories about your location, but we don't do that for people's houses. I mean, like, I'm hoping that, if something's there, they'll reach out to us. You never know. But I don't know, like, that we're talking 30 years ago stuff or longer ago. So who knows if it's still there?
Ghost. Yeah. I mean, if the ghost is my 3,600-year-old, Algonquin or Inuit, it's probably not going to be an Acadian in Northwest, North America. But what's 30 years to them? They've been there for 3 millennia.
Yeah.
Yeah, they don't probably know. Time to them is probably much different. And that was one of the questions that popped into my head. Like my grandparents' house, it's still there, and that house was built in like 1927. In Alexandria, Virginia. I remember some of the horrible experiences I had there. I've often wanted to go back and knock on their door. How the heck would you even approach that and say, hey, I'd like to see if there's a ghost in your house? I mean, I was young, but still, there was something there.
I mean, like for me, what I would do, like, not that I can, but like if I was going to approach, I find the best way to approach locations is for commercial, especially, is if you go somewhere and you would talk to them about the history of their building, the history of their location. People will talk your ear off about their stuff. They love this building. They own it. Like they'll tell you everything you ever wanted to hear. And then towards the end of the conversation, once they like you and trust you, you go, hey, like I'm a paranormal investigator. And a lot of times it'll be their idea to have you come investigate at that point.
Mm-hmm.
Jason, have you ever encountered a ghost animal?
Yes, that happens. Yeah, it happens quite a bit.
So here's where we're coming full circle on the first time I met these fine folks, and that was about Bigfoot. And I have, it's not a theory because I'm not trying to put it forward as anything that I'm advocating for, but it's an idea, and I think it's clever. In that all of our monsters and demons and things like that are actually ghosts, and the ones that we can't describe are just extinct creatures. Woolly mammoth or cave bear or but a ghostly grizzly on its hinds probably might appear like a Bigfoot because it disappears or moves differently, or it appears differently than a regular grizzly on its hindquarters, or maybe it is the Homo gigantus or whatever, that was 11 feet tall or whatever the case may be. So that's just my little, and then put in, griffin, dragon, whatever, is some sort of ghost of some extinct, animal, whether it's a pterosaur or a Siberian rhinoceros or whatever. But in this case, Bigfoot, so when it's a ghost, first of all, how do you know it's a ghostly animal? And have you ever encountered, it's not a human, it's an animal or non-human, but you're not sure what kind of animal it is? Obviously, I'm obsessed with things that are very much older than grandma's dog or my favorite horse or whatever.
Yeah, I was investigating a location, and I kept feeling like a cat was rubbing. I thought they had a cat, and cats walk up to you and rub against your leg while you're standing there talking, whatever. And it's dark in there, so I knew there was a cat in there. And then, so after the investigation, I asked the guy. I was like, "Hey, is there a cat that lives here?" And the cat's name was not appropriate, so I will not say it. But he said that cat had died there, but he had to have it live there. It wasn't his home; it was his place of business because the cat was such a jerk that. But he was not happy to hear that the cat was still there.
I think that's funny.
Yeah.
He's sticking around whether you like him to or not.
Yeah.
Grandmother's house, that was one of the things that I saw growing up. You'd be in the living room and the cat would be curled up on the couch over to your left. And then suddenly you'd see it hop off the dining room table and walk into the kitchen, and you'd look and the cat was still there. And now I'm thinking, which cat's real?
And which life was the cat on?
Yeah.
Exactly. So yeah, that was one of the things as a kid that I remember very well was at her house that there was a cat that would be in multiple places at once, and she only had one cat. So,
oh, that's crazy.
And of course, we would get, as a child, I remember one night, there was this knocking in the back of the house, and you go out the back door and you're like in an open kind of, I'll describe it as like a screened in back porch where my grandfather had kind of covered it enough to have a deep freezer, and there was like a washing machine where you go down the steps, and that's where the boiler room is. It had to be separate from the house back in the day because it used a furnace, steam radiator. And that's where that was back there. And I remember going down the steps in there one night, hearing this knocking. And I'm like, okay, I'm tired of this. And I was probably 8 or 12. And there was a window right there. And I had a flashlight. It could have been a cat, could have been a raccoon, could have been a possum. But when I shined my light in that window, as I was going down to turn the light on, which was on the other side, something on the other side of that window had green eyes. Flashlight dropped upstairs. I don't know what the hell it was to this day, but it had green eyes, and it more than likely was a possum or a raccoon or a cat. But as a child, it scared the absolute crap right out of me.
Sticking around to find out.
Yeah.
And I read that was what I screamed. I don't know what it is, but it has green eyes. So
Funny.
I suppose that's better than red eyes. I don't know.
Yes. I think it was.
You tell us.
Yeah, that's a good question. And that's been a question about orbs. Some people say that the different colors of orbs that you will see mean that, it's I hate to use the word pissed off spirit, but one that's got an anger problem as opposed to one that's just floating wistfully away. Have you had any experience with orbs?
In the words of my teammate Summer, people need to take a photography class. Orbs are not paranormal. They're so easily debunked as other dust, moisture, insects. It is very hard to look at an orb and say, "Oh, this one isn't an insect. This one isn't. This is grandma." So for us, it's like, I had a lady at a conference come up to me, and she wanted to show me her orb video, and she's got this big blue orb in her living room, and of course it's dark in her house, and she says, "What do you think of this?" And I explained to her what the more likely logical explanation is, and she says, "Well, I know this is my grandma because the orb is the same color as the shirt we buried her in."
Oh my goodness.
So at that, you just have to go, you already know what it is, so why are you asking me? You do the best you can as far as orbs go, but they're so easily disproven as other things. Could there? The only time I would say an orb would possibly be something is if I saw it with my own eyes, a big ball of light floating around the living room. I'd go, hey, that might be. I don't know if it's paranormal, but it's not an insect on fire. So let's figure this out. But the majority of videos we get are orb videos, and it's just people. If you got it on your Ring camera, it's probably a spider.
How many people have luminescent or effervescent blouses?
Probably a lot.
Ghost.
Yes, it's a
It's Ghost Dog. Yes, what's your Ghost Dog's names?
This is Lily.
She's the same color we bury grandma.
Oh, hello.
Yeah, I don't know. Yeah, that was just kind of like, well, I did have a teammate. She's a paramedic, and she showed up to an investigation, didn't think about it, but she was wearing her jacket that reflects.
Glows, yeah.
And I was taking pictures, and we looked back, and Kathy's boobs were glowing. So I had to tell her that, Kathy, you might want to go see a doctor. Yeah, I'm like, you might want to go see a doctor, Kathy, your boobs are glowing.
You got orbs.
They're supernatural.
As a paramedic, I'm sure she just loved that.
They're real and they're spectacular, especially now.
Yeah. She thought it was funny. She's probably a little embarrassed, but
I doubt it.
She was making sure she was seen.
Yeah.
You won't lose her. Yeah, those lime green jackets with the reflection. How do you get lost with those?
It's dark. Can you go in front?
Yes.
Well, now we'll bring it back to Jeff. How about Bigfoot. Do you ever get calls for creatures outside like that? Bigfoot is coming up and knocking on your door or knocking on windows.
I'm pretty sure you mean Jason, not Jeff.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm sorry, Jeff.
About that is you.
He's terrible with names.
True. I am terrible with names. No, it was just let me totally off. This whole show has been totally off to me, and I apologize to everyone, including the viewers. No, but have you got any calls from things like that? You know, something's knocking outside. It's a Bigfoot. We
don't do a whole lot. I mean, like, I'm interested. I've never had an experience with Bigfoot myself, but like, I would love to. We don't get a whole lot of Bigfoot calls or anything like that. Mostly just ghosts. But I mean, I would be open to it. Like if somebody called and, you know, I mean, I wouldn't be an expert in investigating that, but I do know people that, you know, are really into Bigfoot that I could call in and be like, hey, let's check this out. And then a lot of people, some friends, they have a movie called The Flash of Beauty. I don't know if you guys have heard of it. It's about Bigfoot. Well, they just did a part 2, and it's about The Flash of Beauty paranormal Bigfoot. And a lot of that movie like touches on is Bigfoot a ghost? Is it, you know, are all the things that we believe paranormal, are these all related? I mean, are these all, you know, like, is Bigfoot an alien? Is it a ghost? You know, like, are all these things together? And it's actually really good. It's on Prime, Amazon Prime, I believe. It's pretty good. There's 2 of them that were definitely worth watching. And nice. It just kind of talks about, you know, the connection between all of the things together. And is there a possible connection? Makes you think.
I'll have to watch those.
Well, we discussed those all in our Can You Murder Bigfoot?
Yeah.
You cannot in Skamania County, Washington.
Exactly.
There's
Washington is the only state that has a law against it.
Yeah, somebody just called the sheriff asking about that, I heard.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know why they would make a law saying you can't kill a creature that doesn't exist, but yeah, so maybe they know more than we do.
Maybe they do.
I doubt it.
Maybe it's a just in case law.
Right.
Yeah. I mean, I can't think of that being my first thought process. If I was in the woods and there's this big hairy man looking, I don't think I want to kill him. I may want to get away, but for me, I'd rather grab my phone and get in a blurry picture like everybody else.
Yeah.
We call those blind squatches. I get plenty of those photos. It's like with all of our technology, it's all you get. Ron Moorhead, I'm sure you probably haven't heard of him. He is big out on the West Coast. Okay. And he has a belief about the quantum Bigfoot. And I've talked to him. I've had him on the show. I've talked to him for hours. He really feels like that whatever it is from a different dimension and we just can't see or feel it. And no matter what we do, we're not going to get anything clear on it. And he is really into the quantum theory on that one. And I can't debate that.
Right.
I mean, like, we have proven nothing when it comes to the existence of Bigfoot. So that's a theory you have to take into question. So you have to definitely give that some thought for sure.
Yeah.
And like you, going into people's homes and sitting around and just having a normal conversation, everybody thinks when you're going out and you're looking for Bigfoot, you know, you're going to go out, you're going to knock on trees, you're going to do this and that. Sure, you can do all that. But the most experiences or encounters or whatever you want to call them, we've been sitting around the campfire just having a good time. And as one of the late Bob Grumpy Wilson would say, we're their cable TV if they're out there. They want to see what we're doing here. And he says they will come to us. And, you know, we had a log get thrown into the fire pit from outside of the wood line where we were camping. And we're like, okay, we're just going to sit here and camp and not go back out in the woods tonight. So, that's some of the best experiences we've had, is really just been sitting around not looking for a big hairy creature.
You had rocks thrown at you and
I've been hit with rocks, had that log thrown in the fire, had a log kicked out of the fire one night, and it rolled up over the stone pit and up a hill on fire. And the log was like split, so there was a flat edge on it. Yeah, we tried every way in the world to disprove that one. I mean, we were with measures and we were looking for different blades of grass out of place. Still couldn't tell you how that happened. I could just tell you it happened.
Weird.
I mean, some things are best left unexplained anyway, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
True.
Why is it our minds that gets us going when it's always at night? ghosts have to be around during the day.
Yeah.
Why is it people don't, most experiences? Oh, it's only at night. Why do you think that is? Is it?
I think it's because it depends on what you're looking for. If you're, let's say, if you're going out to scare yourself, if your purpose is you're a ghost hunter and you're going out for entertainment purposes to, you know, scare yourself or have an experience, then you want the lights off. It's scarier. But to be honest, I mean, people see ghosts at any hour, and it's probably, for me, like, I talk to the client. If the client is experiencing activity when the lights are out, we'll turn the lights off. If the lights are on, we try to mimic what's happening when they're having the experience. So for me, it makes no difference. I think it's more of a lights off is more of an entertainment factor to scare yourself, I think, because I don't think it's necessary. And some people believe that your senses are heightened, but you can't see, so your senses are not heightened. They're actually lowered.
How many nights do you just spend one night if you're investigating a home?
Usually we like to go do an initial investigation, and then we try to, especially if we have something happen that we can't explain, we like to go back and do follow-up investigations, see if we can recreate things or find an explanation for what we found on video or audio or whatever. Yeah. So we like to continue with it, especially, you know, we can usually come up with, okay, this happened. We need to go back and see what it was actually. And usually we can figure that out. Or a lot of times just making a simple phone call to the client saying, hey, do you recognize this noise? And they're like, oh yeah, that happens every night. That's the toilet or whatever. But it sounded like something different, you know, because you know, it sounds totally different on audio. Like we had a situation, we were at Oregon State University, and we're doing an investigation. And when we're doing review, I won't call out Erin. I mean, well, I did. But our teammate Erin, she was listening back to, she thought it was a woman screaming. And I mean, where we were, there was a report that somebody was murdered down there. So she's got that on her mind. It's a woman screaming, but she sends it to me like, hey, I think we have a scream here. And I'm like, where is it? Where is it? And then it occurs to me, like, I hear a paper towel dispenser, the automatic paper towel dispenser. That's what she heard. So, because it's like, and it kind of sounds like a scream. But I was like, oh, that's what she thought was a scream. So we always make fun of her about that. We had a nice little presentation there at OSU, and I played it and let the audience tell me what it was. And a lot of them knew, and it really kind of embarrassed her. But it just kind of shows them what we'd go through when we're doing it. You know, like, you know, if you're not paying attention, you know, that's why we try to call everything out, like everything, like, you know, paper towel dispensers. I mean, I can see why she thought that was a scream, but but you still got to make fun of her. And we will till the day she dies.
I like it. Too. That's right. That's what, and make up funny nicknames and stuff.
Like for our team, if we're not making fun of you, like, you know, people don't feel loved. So that's how we show our love on our team. We make fun of you.
Just like being like a paramedic or whatever. Any kind of group that has weird people in it.
Is there any thing in the media, any example that, like the movies The Conjuring 1 and 2, which are supposed to be based on a true story? Is there something where we could look at in, you know, you said Ghost Hunters isn't a good example, it's sensationalized. Is there anything out there that people might have seen or can turn to that might be fairly typical of what your experiences or your methodology is, regardless of whether you find something or not?
As far as Ghost Hunters goes, that's, you know, that's a TV show that we're associated with. And I don't know that they don't fake things, but they do have to make it entertaining.
Yeah.
So they may, you know, you'll watch the show and then they'll see something and they'll be like, oh, what was that? And they'll like freak out about it. And then they'll go to commercial break. But when they come back, they come up with a logical explanation for it. But that was entertaining in the moment. So, but they don't fake it. And of course, sometimes they find things that, of course, they believe to be paranormal as well. But like, so there's nothing really on TV that's going to show you how to be a paranormal investigator and do things right. It's because it's not entertaining. It's not, I mean, like it's really not, it's really boring. And, you know, you sit in a room with your friends for a dark room usually and ask questions and nothing happens most of the time. And, you know, it's a lot of work. And then you got, you know, with the setup and the review, and review is, if you have an hour of video review, that's usually about 2 hours review or longer, because you have to go back. You heard this, go back. And, it's not, if you're doing it for entertainment as opposed to trying to, find logical explanations or even, try to prove the existence of ghosts to yourself, it's not going to be fun. It's just not. It's
a lot of downtime.
You have to be dedicated to it. And we find a lot of times that we'll get new team members. They'll be all excited. Then they'll go on an investigation with us and they'll be like, nobody got thrown against the wall. Like, what is this? Like, I'm out of here.
It's like a stakeout.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It really is. It's just, you have fun with your friends and, you don't eat Mexican food beforehand. So your stomach doesn't growl and there's no stomach demons. And,
You guys want to hear? While we've been here, I've been looking into a little bit some of the questions I couldn't answer earlier. I don't know if while Jason's here, if he wants to hear this or not, but we're all sort of together during it.
Sure.
Yeah, if you don't care.
Yes, from everyone. All right. So here we go. So, does a home seller have to disclose ghostly activities before a sale? The source here is Zillow. So according to a state-by-state analysis by Zillow, there are no states that require home sellers to voluntarily disclose alleged ghostly activities on property. So the answer to that one is no. Yeah. Now, as far as not necessarily a ghost, but you have to disclose death on a property. There are some states, as we both speculated, that you do, but it's probably not as often as you think. There are 9 states that have some type of law on the subject. There are 3 where you have to affirmatively raise it, and 6 others where there might be circumstances where you have to let it be known. I didn't find enough about what that is. Now, there's a whole bunch of caveats in here about that. There's something called the stigmatized property. So this is more where homes where there's murders, suicides, or criminal activities that have occurred in the past. So in some states, such as Alaska and South Dakota, a seller must disclose if a homicide or a suicide has occurred in the home in the 12 months prior to a sale. Which, I mean, if you can put up with it for 12 months, you can put the house up for sale around month 10 or 11 and just don't close until after 12 months and 1 day, and you're all right, I guess. Haunted houses. In the famous Ghostbusters ruling, Stambovsky versus Ackley, the court decided that homeowners have publicly claimed that their home is haunted. They can't turn around and deny that it's haunted when they try to sell it. So if you've been mouthing off about things that go bump in the night, you might have to disclose this. That's sort of the, we caught Glenn on the air, with Poltergeist, and they saying, it was just a rib, it was just a gag. And there is a risk of lawsuits because, yes, you can get sued over ghosts. Now, as I always tell people go, you can't sue someone for this or that. You can sue anyone for anything. The question is whether or not your suit will be successful, has any chance of success, or whether it's worth the effort, or you can find an attorney, or whatever the case might be. But nothing, the courts are public places. It's very rare when somebody gets barred from filing lawsuits. And even then, it's usually in the state. And I forgot who it is, but there's somebody who's barred from filing any lawsuits in the federal courts. But that person can still go on the state bus. So, yes. So you can get sued over ghosts. And there might be ethical considerations generally about your licensing, and anytime any licensed person gets complaints against their professional entity or a private semi-professional, not semi, but private professional agency like the National Association of Realtors, or your state licensing board is obviously a regulatory professional agency. The National Association of Realtors is voluntary. Transparency is crucial to selling the home, meaning that you could probably be subject to sanctions or losing your license. That would probably require, unless it's absent one of these states in one of those situations, it probably would require that there's some sort of pattern of behavior or something that's particularly egregious. There were some places where there were other states that you had to disclose certain things within 36 months or whatever, but but there are laws on that in certain states, but it is the minority. In most states, ghosts are not protected against.
Very interesting. Thank you.
Sure.
Jason, I bet you'd never known any of that.
I mean, I just kind of assumed it would be, and it is state to state, but I didn't know what percentage of states would actually have rules for that. But that's kind of interesting. It's a question I have been asked quite often by people, but like now I have more of an answer than I had before. I guess. So that's good.
Cool. And you also have a radio show on this, correct?
Yeah, I have a radio show that airs in Portland and Vancouver, Washington. It's called Hassling the Paranormal.
Oh yeah. What is it about?
So basically, I have a guest every show. I have a guest that it will be on anything from. I've had like Karen Anderson on, who's a pet psychic, or I can have a guest. I'm having let's see, I had Rocky Smith on last month. It was he's the director of the Oregon Ghost Conference, so we talked about the conference and all that kind of stuff and the things he does, and then I have a psychic coming up tomorrow. I have to actually interview him, Daniel Monroe. He's going to be on and just talk to him about, like, we'll do any paranormal topic really, whether it be aliens, Bigfoot, but just it's a lot of fun.
Well, if you need an attorney now, Jeff. Pays our paranormal attorney.
I'm hoping never to need one, but it's good. It's good.
No, I mean for questions on paranormal stuff.
You know what? I just stumbled onto like a scam that's in a giant loophole. I think kind of, or I can say that the Paranormal Association of Interdimensionality has granted me the exclusive law license to arbitrate and adjudicate all legal matters in the paranormal, and nobody, it's like when you buy a star, nobody can say that.
That's right. You're right.
So I'm going to declare myself officially that, because I didn't declare myself that. Actually, the Watcher from from Marvel Comics consulted with the Celestials and whatnot, and they've.
That seems kind of long to put on a business card, though.
Yeah,
but it sounded very professional, though.
It did.
Not an interdimensional business card, because space works differently there.
Oh, that's right.
I like it.
It'll be like S.H.I.E.L.D., and you've just got to come up with a
good acronym.
It'll be totally like when Tony Stark is playing with the computers and making new things, and like everything's in 3 dimensions and he's moving things. Like just picture me doing that and it working.
Okay.
Jeff, I didn't know you had such powers. Jason, what do you think? What do you think is going to be our best scientific tool to measure by our prove other? I mean, some scientists have proved there's other dimensions. We have the quantum mechanics. What do you think our best tool, our best resources that we're going to use to prove any of this, and whether it's alien, Bigfoot, ghost?
I mean, as far as aliens, I think we pretty much have all the proof we need. I mean, like if you look up at the sky and you think that we're the only ones that is alive and all of that, you've got to be out of your mind. But
agreed.
As far as Bigfoot, I mean, we're going to have to find a body or a living one. I mean, and then then we live in the world where, even if you are able to prove something, it doesn't mean people are going to believe you.
Yeah.
There's facts and then there's facts these days. So, you can prove something and, people are going to have the conspiracy on it. And that's where we're at in this world now. So I don't think we'll ever be able to firmly prove, especially the afterlife, unless we were able to prove that Jesus and God or whatever existed. If we were able to prove that, then people would accept that. But if we proved that, when you die, this is what happens, and you don't go to heaven or hell or whatever, then they're not, no matter what, they're not going to turn from their religion. They're just not. They have their faith in their religion, and whether or not you have facts and people will, I mean, the religion says one thing, but they see another thing with their eyes, and they still don't care.
I think,
I agree.
well, if you're a reasonable person, you can believe in science and religion.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, there's a fine line there for sure, but like, I mean, most religious, if you truly, have faith in your religion, then science doesn't mean anything to you.
That's not true.
I mean, like,
I feel
if
like
you're,
that's debatable.
Yeah.
I mean, like, if science were to disprove your faith, then I don't think a lot of people are going to go, well, science was right, and just turn away from their faith.
I don't
mean,
think science can disprove my faith.
I mean, maybe one day it will, maybe one day it will. I don't know. I mean, for me, I'm non-religious, so I don't believe in any religion. I don't really know what happens to us when we die. I'm not ready to find out yet. So
yeah, well, I'm not either. But
yeah. I mean, there's only one way to find out for sure, and I don't
That's
think I'm
true.
there yet.
well,
One of the guys on our team, he has double degree in masters. He's an engineer and all these things. And we got into the debate one night, and he said that he was prepared because of his religion, that, whatever happened. He wasn't scared of a Bigfoot or, whatever came at him. And he said, because this book says, and he was holding his sword, his Bible. And I said, so as an engineer with all this education, that's the only book you believe in? And it really stumbled him. He goes, well, no, that's not what I meant. And I said, that's what you just said. And it stumbled him because he couldn't come back to that, because if he's listening right now, I'm not calling him out because I still love him to death, but it is a fine line. I agree. I mean, scientifically, even if this, and I went into looking for Bigfoot thinking we've got to have a body. And then we had a biologist on our team said, that's not going to do it. They're going to say, well, that was a male. We need a female. Well, now we need an adolescent because we need to know how they grow. We need a pregnant female to see how they are. And I was like, so you're going to have to kill the whole damn family just to prove this one. And I said, that makes no sense to me. And she said, scientifically, that's probably going to be the only way. So they can study and replicate it. And I was like, that's
crazy.
So that was when my view on killing a Bigfoot changed, was after talking to her, because, the fact that, you have to kill a teenager one and then a 90-year-old one and then the whole family in between just didn't make a bunch of sense to me. So.
It doesn't, because if you had either species, you could look at them scientifically and tell how they would mate.
But how could you if you don't know their species? Well, they don't have belly buttons. I'm not trying to be funny, but
I know, but
scientifically, you can't answer that without a reasonable explanation. Not reasonable.
Possibly, it's possible to. I mean, it's probable.
Well, I mean, but if you're seeing, presumably in this case, you're seeing more than one Bigfoot in a short period of time. I mean, this is the first time you're seeing this type of creature. If the first time you're seeing a leopard together with a jaguar, would you know the difference? Would you know that those are two different things? It would just be the shock, be like, oh my goodness, I saw two spotted big cats, and they can't mate successfully, or they can, but their offspring can't have, they're like mules. So I think his point is that we don't know what defines a species in a creature we have no taxonomy for.
Yeah.
Yeah. And even you get to people argue, and Jason, I know you probably don't like to go down this either, but that you get to people that say, well, the dog man has just a different species of Bigfoot. Then you got this kind of the skunk ape, which is in Florida. So,
well, for me, I kind of feel like one of the reasons our government would never want to disclose, hey, we have Bigfoot or dogman or whatever, is because then they would be a protected species. So then they'd be like, now we have to protect their land so that we can't log here, we can't do this here, and so it's better to be able to pretend those things don't exist and do whatever we want with their.
Oh well, would some government agencies love that?
No.
I mean, like, I don't know about government agencies, but certain organizations, yes, I would imagine.
Yeah.
Jason, do you get into conspiracy theories? On this show, I get people that I swear I have to put a tinfoil hat on when they come on.
Well, I listened to yesterday's show.
I mean, they're always fun, but sometimes you learn things about your friends that you wish you hadn't. They believe what? Yeah.
That's true.
I agree. I've been hosting shows now for I don't know about a year and a half, and some of the things that I've heard just sometimes kind of make me just shake my head. So
Yeah.
And right now it seems as the world is just rampant with it, and I think social media has made it 10 million times worse. So
yeah, my best answer to conspiracy theories is that anyone who's ever belonged to a condo association, a homeowners association, or like a swim club that has a board knows that there's no possible way that there's a global cobbles, because people can't agree on what color of taupe is acceptable.
You're absolutely correct. I get Google alerts to help me sometimes get leads on things, and one of the alerts I get is on Bigfoot. If a news article comes out about Bigfoot, I'm going to get it in my inbox. And 99.9 times out of 10, it's something funny, or now there's a Bigfoot radio station that I'm going to figure out how to filter that out. I saw one the other day. This gentleman was a lawyer. Sorry, Jeff. And he was complaining to his homeowners association in the local public paper because the people across the street had a lawn ornament that was against their code. It was a religious lawn ornament, but they were allowing it. And so his argument was, well, I'm going to put a giant concrete Bigfoot up there and you can't stop me. It's like, you're right. I agree with you, Jeff. The people with the flat earth, they just totally blow me away. I don't understand how many centuries would we have had to hidden this. It does not.
What would be the point? Why would we? I'm open to believing anything if there's a reason for, like, why would the government want to tell us the world was not flat? Why would they want to keep that a secret?
Well, why would the Mayan government and the Aztec government and the Persian government, why would the Babylonian governments want to have said that? I mean, I could think of all sorts of reasons why our government might now, but and they're probably just as fallacious. But like, what was in it for the Mayans?
Yeah, I agree.
I just don't understand it. I mean,
Jason, what's the wildest one you've heard?
Conspiracy theory?
Yeah, we'll go with that. Yeah.
I don't know. Like, let's see. My favorite, it's not really wild, but my favorite conspiracy theory that I'm like really interested in is, did we really go to the moon?
Oh yeah, that's a good one.
Yeah, I mean, obviously there's reason why we would fake that, because the Russians got to space first, and we had to show, no, we're in the lead here, and did we really go? I mean, maybe we did, maybe we didn't, but there are people that will fight you over it.
Yeah,
very angrily. I can't remember the guest's name, but it's been a year ago. I could almost say to the date. He was one of my first guests. He wrote a book. He was the one that got punched by. Now I'm having.
Oh yeah.
Armstrong. Yeah, he was the reporter from CBS that got in the guy's face and said, here, swear in the Bible, you went and punched him in the face. That was one of my first guests. He made some of the most compelling arguments that I left the show going, I don't think we went to the moon.
Yeah.
I watched a show about it and I was like, well, maybe we didn't.
That's
and then people were like, well, that's so un-American. I'm like,
yeah,
really?
Yeah,
I mean, like, it makes sense why we would have done that, and it worked. If we faked the moon landing, what our purpose, it worked. It absolutely worked. So
what? I mean, why haven't we gone back?
Maybe we did, and the aliens were like, "Don't come back here, guys.
Yeah,
we don't like it.
We don't like you. Get out of our closet, you."
Very possible.
The moon itself and all of the strange uniqueness about the moon vis-a-vis, like the distance from the Earth, its size, its orbit, its constitution. It's like it might truly be unique. It's like somehow it's like the exact right ratio that you can have total solar eclipses because of the math that it doesn't involve. So there's a lot about the moon that is really interesting enough on its own.
There is.
So that's a fun rabbit hole to go.
Yeah, some people believe we created the moon. Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh,
Some
yeah.
people think it's hollow and that it's a satellite, and
I think it's made of cheese.
so many.
I know. I was disappointed when I found out it wasn't cheese.
I know.
I wasn't until I realized it was Jarlsberg cheese, and I don't like it. So
It's just a Death Star.
It's a Death Star. Yeah, it's the government. It's the government's put it there, even though back before they even knew how to communicate, they were drawing it on walls. But yeah. I have a friend that worked in a 3-letter agency, and his thing about conspiracy theories is he says, I could talk about this now because of a published book. Back during the Cold War, there was a machine that the Russians used on one end to communicate and on the other end to communicate, and only the two machines could talk, kind of like the Cherokee Wind Talkers. And the Russians thought that we couldn't hear their talk. Well, we had actually already either developed it or whatever. Somehow we could hear them. We knew what was going on. They sent him and a special task force in to fake a burglary of their equipment so that the Russians would think that, we got them. They don't really have it. So he said, if you think that some things are fake, he goes, you got to look around and go, the government does sometimes things that want you to think it's fake. They wanted the Russians 100% not to think they had it, so they went and failed stealing one out of an embassy.
Wow.
Back during the Cold War in the late 70s. So.
Yeah, you don't know what's true now or not. It's crazy.
What's the saying? I read it on the internet. It's got to be true.
Yeah.
Well, maybe if Jason can find a way to communicate with ghosts, maybe they have a better discernment of truth versus fiction.
Something tells me they probably don't want to talk to us a lot of times anyway.
Yeah, you're right.
Yeah.
They see what we're up to, and they're like, we checked out of this game.
They haven't met Glenn. I mean, he's kind of a big deal.
Yeah, that's true. Hey, Jason, what do you think about how much credits do you put in the ghost box? Ghost boxes. You don't?
Like they're fun to play with and it's entertaining, but there's no way to prove that they're like we do like the Estes method. We have somebody has the headphones on.
Yeah.
And if that makes it make a little bit more sense, but for the most part, we have one. We break it out if we have like a public investigation because everybody that paid to be on there, they seen it on TV and they want to play with one. So it's more of an entertainment thing, but I mean, you can get interesting results with it, but there's no way to prove that this is anything more than us just hearing things we want to hear.
Okay.
True.
Yeah, that's true, I guess.
Well, I know I've probably kept you guys longer than you wanted to. And I appreciate you coming on, Jeff, and the last minute. And Jason, I appreciate you coming on earlier. We were not actually sometimes have an organized show.
We do sometimes.
What's the fun in that?
I know how that works, yeah.
Yeah, get off topic a lot.
Ooh, shiny. But when when I had a guest cancel at 8:00, I'm like, well, actually, it was after 8. I was like,
That's fun, yeah.
So, but I appreciate you for coming on, Jason. Where can everybody find you and your stuff? And got anything coming up? I know you were just at the big convention.
The Oregon Ghost Conference we had last week, and that was a lot of fun. And that's in Seaside, Oregon. If you want to find my team, it's bigriverparanormal.com. And if you need help in Idaho, Oregon, or Washington, you can reach out to us there. You can listen to my show, Hassling the Paranormal, on KXRW.com. And that airs the second Thursday of the month, airs live show, or not live, but new shows. And then, but you can catch all the shows on my page on the website there. That each show has a page, so they're all archived there, so you can catch any of those.
On what page?
Anytime. KXRW FM.
Okay, thanks.
Yeah.
Write that down. I'll forget it.
I forget.
My memory's bad.
You got any more questions, or you want to cross-examine, or?
No, the witness is excused.
Jeff, how about you? You got anything interesting coming up? Besides I know you're going to be on my show more.
It's gotten worse. Yeah. So aside from sometimes here, all right. So on Unpopular Review, they're wrestling, and I do the Raw review show after Monday Night Raw. So that's usually starting around 11:10 p.m. Eastern time. So there's that. On Unpopular Review sports side, I do a show with my 23-year-old son, the Lippman, on the UFL. It's season 1 of the UFL, professional spring football. The XFL and the USFL have merged. Neither one of us followed the USFL or the XFL with any detail whatsoever. So we're learning with you. So we did 3 shows during the preseason and learning up on it and reviewing the teams and the coaches and some of the rules. And the funny thing is that there's not a complete clarity as to which rules apply. And this weekend starts games. There's 2 games Saturday, 2 games Sunday. So we're going to do a review show Sunday evening. So that's on Unpopular Review Sports. So if you subscribe to both those places and hit notifications, you'll know when we're on, because we're going to wait till the last game is over and see if there's a post show or not, because even that's not clear. But folks, there's more. On Unpopular Review Entertainment Division, I'm going to be on the forthcoming X-Men 97 review show. So that's just Unpopular Review. Now, last night, I made my debut on Tooneytown Wrestling, a YouTube channel, and there was a panel of about 6 of us, and that show's already crossed 2,200 views in now 24 hours. Now, I don't know where you come from, but for me, that's enormous. So we're really pleased with that. So. And the star of that is Marvin, the movie puppet, or the movie monster, and he's a puppet, and he's really funny, and it's great. So Tooneytown Wrestling. So if you want to subscribe to that, you probably want to be a wrestling fan for that, but it's objectively funny. What else do I got? Oh, my wrestling podcast, Hammer Like Hangover. My non-wrestling podcast, Garden of Doom and Garden Views, which is where I met Glenn, and that's Garden of Doom is mythology, comparative religion, history, things that go bump in the night, paranormal, ufology, just something for everybody. If you want Shintoism, I got it. If you want tarot, I got you. If you want to hear about demons, I got you. So there's that. And Garden Views is more legal business, but we really do focus on the laws of what we think space is going to be. So a lot of extrapolating the laws of man and the current policies in space. I've talked to lawyers and jurists and the different titles I have from Serbia, from the Netherlands, from Britain, India. I've got someone from Africa lined up, hopefully. Really doing a bunch of stuff with that. I'm sure that I left something out, but you know what? If you follow me on any of those things, I'm sure I'll promote them on some things, but that sounds like an awful lot. And by the way, I make not $1 off any of this stuff. So,
I'm with you there.
Next, we'll be sending you to see what's going on with PD.
I guess that's Jeff. Jason, have you figured out a way to get rich on this? Because I sure haven't. So.
No, but I'm not in things. I gave up the pursuit of money about a decade ago, and I've never been happier.
If I figure it out, it's going to be my secret. That's all I'm saying.
Yeah.
We'll let a ghost tell you the lottery number for next week. I'm going to let you out of the studio. I appreciate it. Thank you very much. Jeff, me and you're going to do some paranormal attorney stuff. Jason, anytime you want to drop in, I know I've got like 4 followers, so it probably wouldn't do you any good with your thousands of followers, but anytime,
we'd love to have you anytime.
I've got
take them all.
1 or 2 more than that. So.
Oh, yeah, on X. At Eckers Fell MD.
Thanks for having me on.
Yeah, anytime, Jason. I appreciate it. You have a wonderful night. Thank you again for coming on early. So I will talk to you soon. I'll send you a message and we'll get all the links from you. So we'll talk soon.
Good.
Thanks.
Jeff, you're amazing as always. Thank you. And Dana and I have been racking our brains, and now that I've got the lovely Shay up there to help us out. So I keep telling them I'm Charlie, they're my angels. So we've got some paranormal attorney stuff coming. So yeah, we're gonna have you back real soon. In fact, I just do what?
I call Metatron.
Okay. Well, it's interesting. I just sent them a message the other night. I was like, I gotta get Jeff back in here. Literally last 2 days ago, wasn't it? It wasn't.
It was a couple days.
Your messages are often cryptic. You're like, I'm expanding to 23 cities, and I don't know what to do about it. And it's like, I've been meaning to get you on, but I can't coordinate with, my matzo ball soup. I don't know.
Yeah, they're weird.
I sat down 1 week and I devoted pretty much from the time I got up until the time I went to bed behind this computer, editing and organizing and getting things just right. And then when I was done, I sat there and I looked and I was like, what the hell did I just do? How did I do that? I'm getting a method to the madness. Yeah, we're growing. In fact, my agent messaged me today. She's like, hey, I want to talk to you about some new FM stations. And I'm like,
No.
Agents. I don't know.
So
isn't the agent supposed to help make you money? Isn't that like the main role of an agent?
She's cost me more money than made me money. So. But
don't they work on commission? Like it's like 10% of what you do.
Probably 10% of what I give her. No, I'm not complaining. Nicole's done great.
Yes.
The market has changed. Used to, they would find hidden talent, but now you got to put yourself out there to be found. The Howard Sterns and the Rush Limbaughs were a thing of the past. So
yeah, I understand.
I don't know.
Everyone you meet is a content creator on some platform, so it's no longer contingency. You got to pay someone to publicize you.
Yeah, and she's got us out there. She's doing good. I haven't seen a lot of turnaround from it yet, but I've had a lot of good feedback from it. So
good. Well,
there's a lot of rules, though. Oh my God, there's a lot of rules.
Yeah,
I'm happy to be here at the beginning of your adventure, or sort of in the beginnings of your adventures.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Well, I've asked you for legal advice along the way too. Jeff,
yeah, but that's like
sign this contract.
It's only sort of legal advice because you're in a different state and stuff like that. It's more like legal insinuation.
Yeah. You're like, I'm your friend. I wouldn't let you do that, basically.
Yeah.
So.
That's right. I'm licensed in Maryland and DC only, and I also do federal trade, intellectual property, trademark, copyright.
Yeah, and you live right up there by the big bridge incident.
I mean, relative to you all, I do, but I mean,
Yeah.
I'm like the polar opposite side of the Baltimore Beltway. I mean, obviously the entire city is impacted, and it's a crazy freak thing, and there's death and tragedy, and there's going to be logistical ramifications for a while. But me and mine were not directly impacted for whatever that's worth. But I'm on the northwest side. That's obviously the southeast side. It's on the waterway where ports are, so that's sort of obvious for the East Coast. And I work from home. My wife works in the area as well, and my stepson, doesn't work. So,
hey, you can adopt me. No.
Yeah, you can. You have a job for him. We'll ship. I will ship.
Yeah, hey. Maybe I can get you on to talk about some of the conspiracy theories about the bridge, because I have been overwhelmed in the past however many hours it's been.
I mean, I'm happy to hear it, but I think that you might have other guests that will be more enthusiastic about that sort of thing than myself.
I don't know. Well, hey, you could call in on a squeaky phone line, and we could have an Agent X show with you too. So
yeah,
that's true. Yeah, I'll wear one of my luchador masks so it disguises my voice.
Got a lady that asked me if she could wear a mask. Swear to God, I'm not making this up.
What? You're a mask?
Yes,
Why?
absolutely, you can.
Yeah, I was like, well, I won't.
You want?
Not in public. So, all right, Jeff, I'm gonna let you get out of here too. Thank you. Thank your wife for letting you be here with us. And I'm going to tune into the USFXF, whatever it is, because I'm
Lippman on the UFL, and that's on Unpopular Review Sports, which is on YouTube. But you can also, if you subscribe to Garden of Doom, you will get Garden of Doom, Garden Views, and you will get the Lippman on the USFL in your audio feed as well, because I've not found it or looked for an independent feed for it just yet.
Okay.
All right, cool. I'm going to check you out because I'm curious about that. I've met The Rock. Wasn't impressed. So, all right, Jeff, thank you very much.
Okay.
Yeah. We can talk about that too. So thank you very much. You have a wonderful evening, and we will talk soon. I'm so appreciative of you coming on.
Thank you.
You're a good man.
Thank you.
I don't care what the prosecuting says. Thanks, Joe. Ladies, we
Charlie?
we pulled it off. It was a show tonight. And we had 2 great guests.
Yeah.
I'm kind of proud of us. So
Yeah.
Dina stayed awake the whole time. I was sending Shay sending messages, so which is probably not read.
Yes, I have read them.
Me too. But yeah, I think we did a great job, and we do need to work with Jeff and get something for the paranormal attorney. And now that we especially have the paranormal psychologist, so
yeah.
I'm just
him.
You have.
Mel? I have.
Yeah, he's been on my show.
Okay.
So yeah, he's retired now. He can talk more.
Okay.
So. It's a true story. When you work for 3-letter agencies.
Oh, that's right.
Yeah. But yeah, I'm glad that we did it. Y'all are awesome as usual. Thank you.
Thanks.
All right, Shay, we're going to figure out Saturday soon.
Yep.
I think you've already started your game plan. So
yeah, it's pretty much just going to be each person needs to get their stuff and I guess send it to you like we did last time.
Okay. And I'll get totally out of order.
Well, they don't have to be in order this time.
Yeah.
Okay.
Make sure you put it in the chat so everybody knows.
Yeah.
Yeah, we will. Let's see. Next week on the Paranormal Guys, we have Valerie Willis, who's an award-winning fantasy romance author. And then after that, we have a brewmaster. He's also a professional athlete named David Leeds, who has some paranormal stories too, if I could learn to talk.
Nice. Spit it out.
And Friday at 9:00 on the Grinning Guardian show, we have a guest, Jim Bernica. He's an author, got a book coming out. He's firefighter paramedic. We're going to talk about all things challenge coins, and we're going to show Random Maverick's new coin, which we ordered today. So,
yay.
Yeah, we got that done. She's a great fan of the show. Love her. So that's where you will find us in the next couple of days. Dina, you got anything else going on that I don't know about? Are you sneaking around on me?
No. Being a good girl. See you Saturday.
I can't keep my angels in line. I don't know what I'm going to do. So. You know what's going to happen is one day my angels are going to turn on me and beat me up. So
we might do that.
Yeah. Well.
Watch back.
Yep.
I'll have you sending ghosts after me or something. So.
I know some
voodoo doll. I don't need a voodoo doll. I got enough trouble. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you. We appreciate everything. Thank you to Yerg's Radio. I never even threw the phone number out there tonight. I was saying.
Oh, well.
Oh, Ross, I apologize. YergsRadio.com is where you can find most of our shows. He's our greatest supporter. This show's just been one that, well, it's what we needed just to cut loose and relax.
Yeah, it was fun.
Everybody have a great day, great night. We'll talk. Oh, check me out tomorrow on Thin Line Rock Station, noon to 2.
Yeah.
Catch you soon.
Nice.